It's Monday, I go back to work after my week off tomorrow. One of the things I'm doing today is to set myself some goals for 2016, because if it doesn't work out, which is a real possibility, I don't want 2016 to feel like it's been a complete failure. So if I can work out goals for myself, I feel like I can achieve what I need to achieve regardless of whether or not we have a baby, and then having a baby becomes this fantastic and wonderful addition to the success of the year. I work for the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, which obviously means a lot to me because I have cystic fibrosis myself. And cystic fibrosis is the reason that Cutty and I have not had to go through the really difficult phase of fertility treatment, of recognizing that you need it. Cutty and I had a much easier journey into this because we knew from the beginning that it was almost impossible for us to conceive naturally. Most men with cystic fibrosis are infertile and so need fertility treatment in order to conceive. Maybe that's why we're more willing to share this story, because we haven't had to suffer through the psychological difficulties of failing to conceive naturally. We just knew it wasn't something that was going to happen. We needed to establish whether or not we could get sperm from me that we could use in our treatment. And the way that we had to do that was through a process called SSR, which is otherwise known as surgical sperm retrieval. It's Friday the 18th of December 2015 and I'm going in this morning for my surgical sperm retrieval. I've not ever been this nervous about any medical procedure that I've had, and I've had my fair share. I've got no concept of how it's going to feel. I don't know how painful it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be like when I come out. This is probably the most important part of the process, because if this doesn't work, if they can't find any sperm, then we're kind of falling at the first hurdle, really. There is the possibility that our fertility journey ends here at this point. Plenty of teenage boys have drawn plenty of these on plenty of whiteboards, blackboards, and any other surface they could try. This is the first time I've ever had to do it for an actual reason other than laughing. So the main issue with cystic fibrosis is that the tubes that take sperm from the testes through the penis and out are either blocked or completely non-existent, which means these bits don't work properly. Surgical sperm retrieval then is about artificially getting to the sperm and retrieving it. And there are three ways that you can do that. The first way is to go in from the top and down. The second way is to come with a needle in from the side. And the third and most unpleasant way is to just take a chunk of the whole thing out. If you're thinking that all three of those things sound pretty nasty and uncomfortable, you would be absolutely right. I've just come out from the surgical sperm retrieval and I don't actually know if I sound drunk anymore or not, but they sedated me really heavily, which was really good because I basically had no idea what they were doing. Couldn't feel it, it was kind of fine. Now incredibly painful. I have had some painkillers to help with that, which hopefully will stay on top of for the next couple of days. It's, I don't know, like 24 hours since I had the procedure done, and I can make a lot more sense now. I can actually talk properly without sounding drunk, which Cutty was laughing at me for yesterday. It feels like you've been kicked in the nuts, but it feels like you're constantly being kicked in the nuts. So again and again and again, it doesn't really get better. And yesterday I was absolutely fine when I was sitting still, when I was sat on a kind of comfortable cushion. on the sofa or something like that, as soon as I moved, it was absolutely excruciating, because that's when stuff moves, and when stuff moves and it's bruised, it hurts. Luckily, I'm pleased to say I do produce sperm. There is sperm there, and they managed to get some. They managed to get at least one really good sample. Luckily for me, they only went to sort of stage 1 of a 3-stage process, so I am aware that it could be a lot worse than it has been. I don't want to deceive anybody by saying it's a pleasant process to go through. It's a horrible process to go through. And it's one of those things where I know this is the full extent of the pain that I'm going to have to experience. I know that Cutty has much more down the line that she's going to have to go through in egg collection and egg transfer, and then, you know, carrying a baby for 9 months, hopefully, and then having the baby, which I think we're all aware is not the most pleasant of processes. So I'm conscious that this has been a very, very small amount of pain for a very short amount of time.
So you kind of caught us up to where we are. We had Ollie's SSR, and we know that they were able to collect sperm from him. So we know that we've got a good chance of creating our own child from this. In the same week that he had his SSR, I also had my pre-treatment scan. And that's to show how many follicles that have potential eggs are in each ovary. So we know that on the scan in December, I had 10 on one side, 9 on the other, which is a good number. Remembering at the same time, you only actually need 1 to work. So we're feeling quite hopeful at this point. My injections start on Saturday. I'm really excited. I'm not anticipating it to be too bad, but it will be good to get started.
I don't want to end up doing loads more stuff to camera with a big drawing of a willy over my shoulder.